It's a match! Yes! And we're back with another episode of the weekly Star Wars CCG Nostalgia Nonsense 20 minutes or so. So thanks for tuning in. This week, why Special Edition changed the game almost completely for the better, and why we love Special Edition. It's personally one of my favorite sets of all time. Right up there with Hoth and Premiere, all those. It's one of the best sets of all time. Hardly any critiques. No particular order. I'm just going to be going through the things I love about Special Edition. So this week, again, comment below. And you could win a starter deck as well. Later on in the video, we'll have the drawing for the last week's. And before we get into the reasons about Special Editions we love, we have to talk about Super Hunks. It was a nail-biting week. So,
I can be your hero, baby.
Super Hunks of the Empire. So, the brackets win. Captain Piet dominated. General Veers destroyed. As to be expected. Captain Nita a little bit closer, but he pulled through. Lieutenant Venka beating Mahdi. A little bit of an upset there. Captain Lennox beating Ozzel. I was a little surprised by that, but based on the comments from last week, everyone loves Captain Lennox, and he has a really badass picture. Lieutenant Paul Treedom destroying Tag. Dyer, who I said was You Rebel Scum. He isn't You Rebel Scum. It's somebody else. I think I blew it. Somebody pointed that out to me in the comments. And Chief Bass barely losing to Moff Jared. So, the next, we're down to our final 8 already. So, Captain Piet versus Veers, that's going to be a very close one, I have a feeling. Nita versus Venka, I have a feeling Nita is going to pull ahead. Captain Lennox is probably going to win this one. And this last one, I would give the edge to, I don't know, Jared probably. Firstly, and in no particular order, because I love almost everything about Special Edition, is they made new personas of almost all the mains. Finally, Darth Vader has another persona besides the one everybody was running 4 copies of up until that point. They did Obi-Wan, they did Wedge, they did Han, they did Leia, they did the Undercover Han, TK422, the Leia, the Princess Leia, the Wedge, they redid a Wedge. They gave Darkseid a Lobot. I guess he's not really a main character, but to me, he'll always be a main character. And then they gave the Darkseid a Sarlacc. Finally, everybody was wondering where that Sarlacc was in Jabba's palace. Well, you can't have it until they CGI some crazy tentacles in there. But the Darkseid Vader, arguably better or worse than the first one. Pretty equal power level, just depends on your deck, which I love about it because it's very versatile. It's like, do you want to add 1 to Destinies or do you want to choke someone? Just depends on what kind of deck you're playing. Super iconic card, really great picture. Up until then, yeah, sure, they had a couple Leias, a couple personas of Leias. Cloud City, Jabba's Palace had Leias, and then there was another Han. So now we have 3 Hans, 4 Leias, 2 Obi-Wans finally. Got another Wedge. Who asked for another Wedge? But, I mean, there's a lot of personas of Wedge. But I love that they reprinted the personas of most of the characters. Secondly, and in no order again, I love generic sites. Wow. As far as role-playing goes, as far as great thing about Star Wars cards is you can tell the story of, hey, this is what happened in my game. Each game is like a mini movie. You deploy these these sector farms or whatever they are, these non-specific to any planets, and suddenly you can have a battle on Dantooine, a battle on Kashyyyk, a battle on XYZ planet. And it really opened up the game strategically because you could plop these down on any planet and then play effects. So if they're draining you on Kessel or something, you can throw one of these down and do a whole bunch of stuff to help cancel the drain or just make everything a little bit more interesting so you can really go to any planet. I love that they had these for both sides. I do like that they gave the light side a 2 force for the light side, 1 for the dark side, and they didn't give the dark side one of those, but the dark side has a +1 force generate, +1 force drain, non-unique farm. I think that's a pretty cool balance, although the farm is pretty good for a non-unique location. So I love those. Really could expand the story. Really could do a lot with that, with what you want in your mind. Which leads us to the objectives. The objectives. Awesome addition. Light side 5 objectives. Dark side 5 objectives. Now you have a little focus in your deck. Doesn't mean you're creatively pigeonholed or anything. You can still do so much with your deck. It just gives you a little building blocks and lets you pull locations. Finally, you can pull locations. I love Rescue the Princess. Raltar Ops, Dantooine Ops. I love those decks. You could really. It was a great move for the game. A lot of interesting decks came from Special Edition, that'll bring me to something I didn't like. They really didn't balance some of these, namely Operatives and Hidden Base and arguably Raltar Ops. But again, the objectives and the idea that you flip it, and then there's certain things you meet, and then once you flip it, there's a way to flip this card back, and then there's a way to place it out of play, so if you don't follow the rules. And I like how some objectives were huge penalties, and others, like Hunt Down, Destroy the Jedi, it's like you flip it, it's easy to flip, but it doesn't give you that much of an advantage. It's a very small theme, as opposed to, say, Hidden Base. Oh, they flip it, now the game's changed. Or Raltar Ops or Dantooine Ops, they flip it, your force drains are -1, etc. It really changes the game. Some are mild, some are more powerful, and you didn't even have to adhere. Like, a lot of times you would run the objective and then just to get these sites out and not even flip it. It just opened a lot of avenues for a lot of cool decks. So, brings me to another thing, kind of in the same vein. I love the celebration cards and the occupation cards. It's like a mini objective. Hey, Cloud City Celebration Occupation, Tatooine Occupation and Celebration, and then it's Rebel Base Occupation and Coruscant Celebration. You have like a whole bunch of new decks you can base around systems and ground. So you have to have some of each in your deck, and you don't have to run stupid operatives or anything like that. It really enhances. Okay, I want to make a Cloud City deck. Okay, so what? But now it's like, well, I have Cloud City and I'm occupying it. Not only are you getting force drain, I'm retrieving, or you're losing extra force. And it really solidifies that, hey, you got to come fight me, or you better have a pretty good plan. I love that too. Also hurts training decks and stuff. I didn't mention that. Objectives. Training objective. Finally, you can train Luke easily. Or Leia, or whoever you want. I love the objective celebrations. Another thing, it kind of all like wraps together. I think that goes like this. That's how you put dark side icons always face the top. Dark side, light side finally has the Death Star. They didn't give us a main power generators for the dark side, but at least they gave us one for the Death Star. True, it turns out it was very hard to actually use, and eventually they had to make an objective to let you play this card, but still right direction. You can pull it off. I remember pulling it off and having people pull it off against me before the objective. You have to complete the Death Star plans, etc., etc., but great theme. Love that. And they had a dark side Dagobah, so I guess that's a step in the right direction to getting rid of these Dagobah weird drain decks. But love the Death Star for the light side, that is. Which brings me to just a weapon I love. I love the Disruptor pistol. Finally, a non-unique weapon that's not complete garbage. Wow, it almost is too good, but I guess. It's a whole weapon. When you have a weapon card, it should be very powerful because it represents a whole force in your force pile. So it's like a blaster really doesn't do anything. You could just put another character in that's better use of the force. The Disruptor pistol really works with non-unique warriors, trooper decks. Non-unique alien decks. Light and dark side have this. You can't use them with Elam. Sorry, there's no weapon icon. But that's probably a good thing. Target lost if destiny greater than defense value. I swear there's about 5 or 6. We had weekly tournaments here in South Dakota. And I swear I ran for about 6 weeks in the 2000s, 1999. I ran 10 Disruptor pistols and 20 Skirlings. That's all I would run. because Skirlings have Destiny 4, and I would just try to shoot everybody with Destiny lower than 3 and adding. And if there's a big guy, I would just try to shoot him with something that added to the weapon Destiny. Target lost, makes the battle over. Just such a powerful weapon. Sure, it wasn't the best deck, but I love the Disruptor pistol. Love that you can actually use a weapon, and it kind of set the tone for a lot of great weapons and weapon interrupts in Endor too. Okay, here is another thing. I love how every single card, almost every single card in Special Edition is useful. Everything you have gold 3, 4, 6. You have red 7, 8, 9, 10, and their matching pilots that all add a Destiny to power, not overpowered by adding a card. You have the Spiral. You have the unique, I think it's the Vengeance. You have so many cards, so many effects. Every single effect in Interrupt is useful. Like I read through the entire set, all the cards, and I thought of new strats as I'm reading these cards. It was the first set where every card had a purpose. You go back and look through Premiere, and there's 330 cards or something. You could basically rewrite 270 of those cards. They're practically worthless unless you have a very niche purpose. But even then, same with New Hope. Probably 3/5 of all the cards at least are pretty much unusable. Then Hoth, the ratio gets better. Dagobah, the ratio probably is about the same. Cloud City gets a little better. Jabba's Palace gets a little better. Still sitting around 50% of the cards are actually can be used. And then Special Edition hits. Every single card can be used. So many good effects. You have the Starship effects that cancel Force Drains. You have Capital Imperial Starship effects. You have S-foils. You have the docking thing that makes them ability 2. You have so much room to play around with your deck now that you have starting interrupts. And you have another starting interrupt that lets you pull, I forget the 3, but they're the 3 ones that kind of stop common gimmicky decks at the time. So putting that all together just makes every pack awesome to open. And another thing, they switched from 60 packs to 30 packs in the box, which was a great, I think it was a great switch because the 60 card boxes were a little spendy, but I mean nowadays obviously that doesn't apply because 30 packs of Special Editions, you could get about 4 boxes of Jabba's Palace for the same price. But at the time, you could buy your booster box for $80 instead of spending $100, and you could pool your money with your friends and for 30 or whatever $40 a piece, get a whole box. I don't remember how much they were at the time, but I remember thinking, oh, Cloud City boxes, Jabba's Palace boxes, Dagobah boxes, those are pushing $110, $120. I can't afford that. Another thing, not to keep ranting, but I'll keep ranting, I love the starter decks. Here, I'll give you guys something else to look at. The Spiral. I love this. Actually, the starter decks have the Disruptor pistols, a fixed card. I love the starter decks. You get 3 rares instead of 2 rares. I think all the non-unique locations are in the starter deck. So all these cards that you need, you can just grab a starter deck. It didn't restrict anybody. You didn't have to buy 10 packs to get all the non-unique locations. Had a few cool cards like the Wookiees. True, if you wanted to make a Wookiee deck with like 20 Wookiees, yeah, you would need to buy 20 starter decks or get some friends to trade. But the starter deck's cool. You can actually open them up and just play them without even looking at the cards against somebody, and you're going to have a fairly decent deck. Try doing that with... we've tried that several times with Premier starter decks. Take the 30 light and 30 dark and open 2 of them and stack them up and have a generic starting location and play them against each other. You play those against each other, you'll be lucky if you have 5 characters, and you'll be lucky if you get 4 ability at the end of the game. But you could actually play these starter decks against each other. It's almost like a sealed deck format. Anyway, so many reasons I love this set. Okay, let's talk about the things I don't like about Special Edition. And let me just say, there's very few things I don't like. This is basically the only thing I don't like about Special Edition. Is the objectives probably weren't play tested enough. Obviously, because Hidden Base as an example, they had to errata it later because you can just flip your hidden base on the first turn. Oops, you got your hidden base. Oh, it's Alderaan, or it's Dagobah, or it's Dantooine. It's something you can't deploy to. And then all of a sudden you can flip it. Oh, I can't even flip this card over. How embarrassing. Then you can flip it, and then if they don't have the right systems in their deck, they'll never be able to reach your hidden base to probe it. And suddenly they have to use one force to draw everything. So they're stifled by turn one. You don't even have to play a space deck. It kind of is almost anti-fun, and you would play this as like a control deck, and it was too powerful. That's what it was broken, is why they had to change it. Now you have to have 5 battleground systems out before you can flip, and then you can have your hidden base out, and then flip this, which it's still a super powerful objective. It was just a little out of control without having to have a certain number of systems out. The greater offender was the operative objectives for each side. You look at the World Championships from 1998, I think, and all the decks, runners-up, everybody's deck was just 20 to 25 operatives and the operative objective. And they all, because operatives are insanely overpowered because they all add destiny, they all add to force strain, and once you flip the objective, which is so easy to flip because they all deploy for dirt cheap, and they all have super high destinies, all the operatives are high destinies, you flip it so fast, and next thing you know, they really can't. It's just a drain war, is what happened. So they had to limit the number of operatives to 1 per site, a whole bunch of different rules. And then Endor came out with a whole bunch of interrupts and effects that destroy operatives, and to really shut down all those operative strategies. But at the time, that was the most popular. That was the best. That was clearly the best thing to do. No other deck could keep up with its pace. And on top of it, you could put in Den of Thieves, or I forget the name for the light side. But to cancel force strain, so you got Den of Thieves in there, and then you have Nar Shaddaa Wind Chimes to retrieve X amount of force at once per game, and all the interrupts that go with non-unique aliens. So you had all these things in your toolkits that really weren't meant for operatives, and it just got out of hand pretty quickly. So that's about the only things I had I would actually critique about Special Edition. Yes, I know Raltar Ops is incredibly powerful. I don't think it came to be realized how powerful it was until the meta really got fleshed out in the age of the internet. Not back in the day. It was not considered powerful, if I remember correctly. My favorite 2 objectives were Dantooine Ops and Raltar Ops back in the day, just because I didn't want to run operatives. But I don't think it's as powerful as, say, Bring Him Before Me. I think Hunt Down and Destroy the Jedi is a good example of a very balanced objective. Actually, a lot of these objectives are balanced, like Rescue the Princess. That's really the only complaint I have. But I do have some side complaints about quote-unquote Special Edition, as you can see here. These are my actual least favorite things about Special Edition.
Look, Java, even I get bored sometimes. You think I had a choice? But I gotta... Yes, I bet you have.
So there you have it. And let's just go over some of the comments from last week. I had a lot of good ones about Hoth, and basically unanimously everybody said Hoth is their favorite, so one of their favorite sets, or their favorite set. And everybody loves the aesthetics. A lot of people like the white bordered cards better than the black bordered. Yeah, I can see why the white bordered cards would be cooler in some instances. Rogue 1, 2, and 3 look really cool in white border, I think, but I don't know. It's toss up. I really like my black bordered Hoth too. Somebody said they like the black border better too. General Rikin, yeah, he does have uses in EOB decks, EBO decks, and some other things. He does have his uses. I know he's not that bad. Light side does have a lot less usable cards than dark side. I would agree, especially some of those artillery weapons are hard to use. Blizzard 2 has a better picture than Blizzard 1. Yes, for sure. It has that iconic when the Blizzard Walker is doing the sidestep to shoot the snow speeder. Love that image. That's awesome. Yes, I mentioned earlier, Dyer didn't say you rebel scum. I blew it. Let's just say my favorite comment was Hujix cancels Nightfall. I completely forgot about that, making the Nightfall cards even worse. Everyone runs Hujix. Everybody well, not everyone, but a lot of people have one Hujix in. I mean, people have two Hujix in, especially back in the day. So all your Nightfall decks kind of just got crapped on as soon as somebody played a Hujix. So that's that. So what I want to talk about now is this is the 7th video. There's going to be 3 more videos. So they're going to be good ones. So the next video is going to be, not to spoil it, but it's going to be ranking my favorite sets, ranking the sets. And then the 9th video is going to be my favorite cards and my least favorite cards of all time. And then the last video is going to be a little bit of a controversial video, but I won't spoil the surprise. And then taking a break and maybe doing some longer format stuff. I got a few plans we'll be announcing on that last video and kind of moving forward from there. So, without further ado, let's draw for the starter deck. SMFDI 69. You're the big winner. You won the starter deck. It's a major award and you won it. So comment below and have your chance to win next week. You never know. So, shout out goes to my brother Scottrick49. He made the Hunks app at the beginning of the video. Super cool. Also, he made the Comlink app for the Android phone. So, link below, check it out so you never have to go without looking up your Star Wars cards. So, see you next week, Star Wars CCG community. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.